up, faithful? Training camp has started. The Niners are practicing. A lot of great stuff coming out of camp. And one of the biggest storylines, of course, is what's going on at the quarterback position. Jimmy Garoppolo, who we have said multiple times on this show, should be the Niners starter, has been one of the best things the Niners have done in recent years. Well, now he's getting pushed because that rookie, that guy who we drafted at 3, he's killing it. Every highlight I see on the Niners Instagram page over the last couple of weeks has just been phenomenal. So, Jose, what are your thoughts on just kind of like the early stuff we're seeing out of Trey from camp?
Well, but before we get to Trey, you mentioned, Jimmy Garoppolo, of him being the guy that we've been talking, ever since they drafted Trey Lance, that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter. Guess what? I'm still going to keep on saying it. Doesn't matter how good Trey Lance looks. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter week 1. With that being said, I like what we've been able to see just on the few couple of clips, right? Because we're not really there. Maybe we should take a trip out there for training camp at some point. But since the fact that we're not there and we're not really seeing the full extent of everything, obviously, if you're working for the 49ers social media team, you're not going to be posting the incompletions and the missed reads on Instagram. But the clips that we have been able to see, it seems promising. It seems like more and more as more in the offseason we get into, it seems like if Trey Lance did have to step in at some point in the season, it looks like he's going to be capable of stepping in and making good enough throws to keep us in games and not lose us games. I will give you that. I will give you the fact that he's looking good enough to where in an emergency situation, that being injury to Jimmy Garoppolo, or Jimmy Garoppolo is just not looking any good, but I'm talking post week 4. I'm talking middle of the season. And the only other option is to get Trey Lance in there. The fact that he's making those types of throws that we saw in those clips, it makes me feel a lot more comfortable. But with that being said, Jimmy Garoppolo will still be the starter week 1. I think Kyle Shanahan believes that. I think the rest of the 49ers team believe that. And I think any rational 49ers fan should also believe that.
I think everything just happened so quick because we went from Trey Lance won't start till 2022 to Trey Lance, maybe he'll get in there mid-season. We'll see him on a few packages here and there, to now people are just like, Trey Lance, week 1, we got to get him in there. We got to go. We got to get this going. We got him drafted number 3. Just do it already. Just do it. And it's like, guys, let's take let's pump the brakes. Again, I know the Niners faithful. We've always been all gas, no brakes, but let's pump the brakes a little bit. Because at bare minimum, what we have been able to see from Jimmy G, he has been able to win us games. And I think the big thing here is until he doesn't have that, until his best skill set has dropped off, I don't think we should make the move for Trey. If we roll him out there and let's say the Niners start 2-3 and the offense looked a little slow, we're struggling a little bit, okay, I'll hear you out. This really does have those 2012 vibes, does it not? Whenever Alex Smith got hurt, in came Colin, and then we just rolled from there. This kind of has that similar type vibe. Of course, I never wish ill will towards Jimmy. In fact, the last couple of years, I certainly, that would be the last thing of results I want to see. I think that's been the biggest killer for this team, of course, the inconsistency of quarterback play behind Jimmy. But you are right. One of the biggest things that Trey does provide this year is should the worst happen, I do have faith in him right behind us because besides the highlights too, you are seeing like people tweet out the stat lines of 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s. You're seeing a lot of high completion percentages from this guy, conversions of touchdowns when they were doing red zone drills the other day, a couple scampers with his legs, a lot of promising stuff that obviously Jimmy just can't do, right? I mean, as much as I love Jimmy, he can't do with his legs what Trey can do. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that separates them as this somewhat competition rolls on.
Right. And I'm glad that you said somewhat competition, even though I'm willing to say it's not really a competition. Again, I don't care how good he looks in training camp. He's mostly doing it against second string guys. He is probably getting some snaps against the first string defense, against the first string secondary. And he probably is going to complete a lot of those passes. But I still wouldn't go crazy about it. One, because it's training camp. And even during our preseason games, the games that he is going to play and the times that he is going to play, even if he looks outstanding, I still wouldn't put too much value in it. Again, those preseason games are going to be against second stringers, are going to be against guys literally fighting for roster positions on not so good teams around the league. So I wouldn't go too crazy about it. But like you mentioned, the comfortability is there knowing that we have, well, first of all, we have a top 3 pick and probably one of the more exciting prospects coming out of this past year's draft. They're waiting just in case something were to happen. And worst case scenario is, you know what, maybe we do have to put him in week 5, week 6, just because the offense isn't rolling. It's not producing the way it's supposed to. And he looks great. And Jimmy Garoppolo is out of a job in San Francisco. And now we move on with Trey Lance. If that's the worst thing that happens this year, I'm okay with it. But I still think the ideal situation for this Niners team going into this 2022 season is that Jimmy Garoppolo gets to start week 1 and that he basically carries the momentum that he had in his last full healthy season, which was leading us to the Super Bowl. If he could play like he did in 2019, I don't see anything really stopping him from playing every single game this season, except for injury.
I think one of the biggest things that concerns me, especially if you do believe in Jimmy, is that you do know one thing about Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not a great practice quarterback, or it doesn't seem like he's a great practice quarterback. Certainly not a good preseason quarterback, as you remember that Monday night game against the Broncos a couple of years ago in preseason looked terrible. That was preceded by that report that he threw 5 straight interceptions in a practice that week. So you add those together and you kind of just keep looking at the box scores that Grant and other reporters that are there keep tweeting out that Jimmy Garoppolo 4 for 11, 7 for 12, stuff like that. You're like, this throws an interception that gets turned into a pick 6 by Fred Warner. You're like, that doesn't look great if like it truly is kind of developing into that competition in Kyle's mind. Now, I just have to take Kyle at his word, obviously, that this is not a competition. That's, I think the biggest thing that a lot of faithful have to kind of really do is just kind of listen to what the front office is kind of telling them. I find it funny all the time, though, with like Niners, with Niners fans, Niners faithful too, as every now and then I feel like there's this constant thing of like, is there a double speak from what the coach is saying and the front office is saying? There's that cautious skepticism that always comes out whenever there is like, oh, he's looking good. Like it could literally be like, oh, he's looking great. We feel great about him to the camp that we are going to trade this man tomorrow. That is just what every kind of like skeptic is thinking. I think there's some of that going on here too.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been kind of a wrinkle in Kyle Shanahan's and even John Lynch's game, where they basically say everybody's looking good. They could have said Trent Taylor is a staple in this offense 3 months ago, and they just let him go. So, yeah, there is value to what you're saying there, that obviously Kyle Shanahan is not going to step in. Even if Jimmy Garoppolo were to struggle in training camp, he's not going to go out in public and tell the media, hey, Jimmy Garoppolo is struggling and Trey Lance looks miles better than him. That's not going to happen. So if Niner fans that are wishing that Jimmy Garoppolo was no longer with the team, guess what? You're not going to get that from Kyle Shanahan, no matter how bad Jimmy Garoppolo plays in preseason games, throughout training camp, and even the first couple of weeks of the regular season. I truly do believe Kyle Shanahan when he says that Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy, that they fully intend for Trey Lance to sit back and learn from Jimmy Garoppolo this year. And then after this year, we could kind of reevaluate the position during next year's offseason. But for now, I trust that Kyle Shanahan is telling us the truth, that Jimmy Garoppolo, you know, he's the guy that took it to a Super Bowl 2 seasons ago. And the guy, his backup, didn't even play an FBS football. I mean, that's kind of where I go when it comes to this. Should this even be a competition? No, it shouldn't. You always go with the proven guy. Jimmy Garoppolo wins football games. That's the number one skill set that any quarterback could have. And as long as he keeps on winning you games, I don't care how good Trey Lance looks against second stringers.
When that skill set diminishes, I agree. That's the time to pull the plug. But what do you think, faithful? Let us know in the comments below. Do you think that Jimmy G is going to be starting week 1? Do you think it's going to be Lance? Do you think we're going to see a change middle of the season? When does Trey Lance get on the field? Drop that below in the comments. Leave a like on this video. And of course, subscribe to this channel, as we are planning on doing a lot of Niners content coming here in the weeks to come. Training camp, big cuts, preseason games. I know Jose's not excited for them, but, you know, some preseason games should be exciting. You know, get that roster bubble going. Come on. We got football back. Come on. Sit down for the ride.
I'll give you that.
All right, faithful. Well, Juju Talk Sports, Jose Corral. We'll see you next time.